So we don't have a special host today, man. Host, what I'm talking about. We don't have a special guest.
He's not really
today.
special.
No,
today.
no.
The host.
No, we don't have a special guest today.
Nope.
So it's gonna be you.
It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be you. Yeah. So we're gonna talk a bit about you, about your background. See so that people get to know you a bit.
Right.
Because I guess many of our main listeners probably know you, but not necessarily know who you are and what you did in your life and stuff. So that could be interesting. And from there, just go on to, that's actually the main reason we just have just us two today to talk a bit about Lux Fitness Challenge that you organize. So yeah, I'm excited. So Arnar Sigurdsson.
Nice.
Did I do that? Did I say that properly?
Yeah, the last name was a bit off, but
okay.
Arnar, that's good.
Yeah, Arnar.
Yeah, it's either people go really soft and say Arnar.
Arnar. And that's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, right?
It's the US way of saying my name. And then they'll go really rough and say Achnach.
Achnach.
It's hard to get the rolling R with the Icelandic version, but I don't know. I lived in the US for 3 years, and I'm still pinching myself or like trying to like figure out why I did not give myself an easier nickname, like an international name.
Yeah.
Because in Iceland, I'm actually called among a lot of friends Atti.
Atti, yeah.
Which is in many ways easier for people to like
to get
pronounce. So yeah, next time I'll be somewhere and introduce myself, I should just do Atti.
Atti.
But okay. Arnar is fine.
Well, in Luxembourg we say Arnar.
Yeah, that's the rough.
That's even the rougher part.
That's fine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit about you. So where are you from, actually?
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm from Iceland. I'm born and raised, I guess. Yeah, I lived there for most of my life. Went to the US for studies for 3 years, and then long story short, I did CrossFit I did like functional fitness boot camp stuff from 2007 and onwards, and then CrossFit got introduced to me and kind of the group of people I was training with around 2009, when Annie, that maybe a lot of people recognize in CrossFit, she went to the games and she was like in our core group of people, so we kind of all jumped on the wagon.
So she was doing boot camp too, actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Inga, my wife, at the time was a full-time trainer at boot camp.
Okay.
And that's kind of how we met.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I was a member and she was a trainer, and I mean, you can picture a similar setup as Valence. Just boot camp is more. I mean, it's an hour class with very similar community feel. People working hard, training. The lifting is a lot less, so there's more, I guess, basic body weight movements, and there's more moving for the hour. You can almost think of it like every time a 45-minute AMRAP of bodyweight stuff or sandbags so there's a lot of stuff that prepares you well for CrossFit. Yeah, so
army style kind of
pretty much
workouts.
Yeah, and we would do crazy stuff like the Hell Week and the Navy SEALs that you have to do. We did like a version of that, which was like a Hell Weekend where we had Navy SEALs guys come in and take it through like a legit process. And
was that harder than the normal training when this guy came in?
Like, well, it was longer. It was a 36-hour challenge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was like Friday to Sunday.
So it was harder. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way, but we were well prepared. Like the guys, the US guys, the Navy SEALs, they said this group of people is we've never been able to push a group to like this far without cracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well prepared.
Yeah. But even looking back on it, we were about 40 people that started, or like 35 that started the challenge. And even today, those people, like, 80% of them are still really fit. About 10 of them went to the games. Like Annie was there, Inga was there, I was there, and a few guys that went to the games. And the others that did not go to the games, they might have pursued like more running stuff or still. So it was a really fit group, even to this day. So I think that era of Icelandic people around 2008 was really strong. So when CrossFit came, we were kind of ready for it. So I think that's a big part of why CrossFit in Iceland got really big so early, because we were good at it. And I think that's a big part of it. Of course, there were Icelandic people that are good in CrossFit that never did boot camp or were not in part of this group. But if like Katrin, Sarah, and Annie were all a part of boot camp at some point before starting CrossFit.
Okay.
Annie, you know, was a little bit before. Sarah lived in a different town, but still they were, yeah. So anyways, back to my story, I guess. During this time I was also studying, so I was in law school, and then I finished law school in 2014, and I kind of had CrossFit as my side hustle, if you will.
But you studied in the States?
No, not law. I studied.
Okay.
So I studied law in Iceland.
Okay.
So I'm an Icelandic lawyer, or I have a master's degree in law in Iceland. So and my ambitions in CrossFit, or you know, the time that I was going to devote towards CrossFit, I thought it was kind of over once I graduated law. Like I had devoted a lot of time, you know, to CrossFit because I was, you know, competing, at the highest level of CrossFit for a few years. And then you think, okay, you start graduating, and then you, of course, get a real job, and you know,
life starts. Yeah,
life starts to roll over you. But it's just kind of panned out that way that I've still been able to exercise enough to not say stay in the game, but you know, I'm probably above average fit still. Okay. So.
But you never exercised law in that sense, that you had a job as a lawyer?
Well, I worked for a law firm during all my studies, pretty much.
Okay.
So I did 5 years of law school, and from second year on, I was at a law firm, and I got offered a job there, but I had different ambitions. And then for about 1 year before I came here to Luxembourg, I worked for a lawyer, but he was more into business, so we were like both, you know. But I'm not an attorney, so the only difference is I have all the requirements needed. I just need to go and take like a 1 month seminar and pay like, I don't know, $5,000 to be an attorney. I just both, of course, just kind of pursued a different route. So if I have the time and money, I'll just go and get that done. But
so is that a plan that you actually have for your future at some point, or?
Yes and no. Like I like to keep things open. So
it's an option.
Yeah. It's something that, you know. Well, I mean, getting the like passing the bar or whatever, going from a lawyer to attorney is. Like I've done all the grunt work. It's a matter of just like finishing it. So it's kind of something that I might do, even though I might not use it that much. So, but if I'm thinking about if in the future that I'm gonna start practicing law, I don't know. Like maybe. So we'll see.
Nico, come say hi.
Hi.
Come on.
What?
Come say hi. Hello, Nico.
Hi.
Shy.
Shy.
You don't want to be on the podcast.
Well, now you are.
Yeah, he's famous.
I have to prepare something to write what I will say in English before.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the yeah. Anyways. Yeah, so I mean, in short, that's pretty much what I'm about. Yeah.
So that was your time in Iceland, actually.
Yeah.
So as you said, born and bred.
Yeah.
In Iceland, and you said you were in the States. Did you also do some university there, or what kind of school did you do?
Yeah,
there?
I did like a college program.
Okay.
I was on a college level,
Mm-hmm.
but it was actually it was not a lot of academic, if you will. It was more practical stuff.
Okay.
So it was like a sponsored college where we'd go in and we'd actually help, we worked on different projects that foundations and charity work had funded. So meaning I was there when Katrina, the hurricane, some of you might have heard of, in New Orleans hit. It was in 2004. Then I just moved, and we were the first group that were allowed in after the police and first government officials were allowed in the area.
Okay.
We were the first, the second wave of group that were able to come in and build the refugee camp and build stuff like that. Yeah. So I also worked on a lot of house improvement projects.
Okay.
Taking a building that's been suffering from hurricane or something, and we just go in there 30 people and ramp it up with of course funds. So yeah, it was really it was a different experience, and something, I was 17 when I moved there, and I only planned on being there for 1 year, and then I just realized how healthy it was for me to be in the program. It was a 3-year thing, and it was big on also mentoring the people beneath you, and you had to be invited to the next part. So meaning it was not a big school, but the first year students were by far if you had 30 first year students, you only had 15 second year, and then only 5 were able to go in the third year.
Okay.
And by that point they'd almost pay you to be there, because then you would be helping mentoring the first year students and being kind of the leader in the on the projects. And and the school was also letting in a lot of teenagers or kids that were not finding kind of the right groove in life and maybe had wandered off on the wrong path. So they might have bad addictions or relation to gangs and stuff that an Icelandic kid doesn't get exposed to really easily. But I got that experience early on, and it was something that I treasure a lot to this day, because it kind of changed my character.
Yeah, I was about to say, it probably shapes you differently.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's, I could speak about this
for hours.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah.
Okay, so now you are the manager of our local gym here, the Reebok CrossFit Valence.
Yeah.
So manager and head coach, or whatever how you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
So how does that came to be? How did you get from Iceland to?
Well, that's a good question. So the gym is owned by Icelandic guys, which are not kind of not managing the gym hands-on. So they've always had someone being the head trainer and head coach, kind of outsourced that role. And the people that were here before Inga and I, called Steinar and Fanny, that were here for a couple of years, or I think close to 3 years. They had decided to move on to different adventures. So I think either them or the owners kind of just said maybe Inga and Arnar would be a good fit for this. So they reached out to us. So I was, like I said, working for a lawyer, and Inga was always been a trainer, but also was working as a flight attendant, and we just kind of got the offer to come here, and we decided why not. And we definitely don't regret it. It's been a great experience, a lot of work, but I think I've learned so much and just treasured the moments with people that I've had here and still do. So that's kind of how it came about. So we moved here. I was actually competing that year at the games during the summer. So this is 2015. So I'm competing at the games in late July, and then we start 1st of August 2015. So we're coming up to 3 years now. So it's gone by quick in a way.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah,
for sure. So you were saying you were competing at the games. How many times did you compete at the games or regionals or whatever? What's your background on that part?
Right. So on like the CrossFit events, the regionals and the games, at the regionals I've competed 4 times. Twice as an individual, but I never made it to the games as an individual. But I've competed twice on a team at the regional level, and both times I made it to the games.
Which years were that?
2013 with Team Thor.
Okay.
And 2015 with CrossFit Reykjavik.
Okay.
And in 2011, I actually went to the games as a reserve. I was not really much in. I mean, I was doing CrossFit a little bit, but I was more focusing on running at that time. But Inga was competing at the games then.
Okay.
So I was kind of a reserve, and there I watched the games, and I was doing like a.
So sorry, but a reserve for the team itself.
Sorry, so reserve for the team in 2011. This is pretty early on. It's the first year Annie wins the games, so we were kind of her, I guess, entourage or whatever. So it was great to experience that like firsthand. Yeah, pretty much. So that was a lot of fun to experience kind of firsthand, and I was also. Like this is before social media really took off, I would say, and I was doing like blog updates on behalf of Reebok in Iceland about the games, because there was not a lot of extra material about the games, so I was kind of following the games really closely. I just remember watching the games 2011 and thinking to myself like, one day I want to be there. So about a couple of months later, I kind of reached the long-term goal of running a marathon under 3 hours, and after that, I decided to devote most of my training, or all of my training, toward CrossFit. And the following year, I made it to the regionals as an individual. So in 2012, in 13, I went to the games as a team. 14 an individual, 15. To the games as a team, and then for the last few years I've been actually involved on the other side of it, so helping out with administrating the regionals. Yeah. And
what was your best scoring at the games with your teams?
At the games, I think the best score we had was I think we were 17th place in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
But does that even, I mean, if you make it to the games, does it even matter at that point which place you take? Are you still happy to do it anyway, or how does that?
Yeah, I think it's different for different people. I mean, I think a lot of people at the games kind of won their prize at the regionals, and now it's just enjoying the experience being at the games. And then you also have people there like going for blood.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and so you have, but you have definitely more of, I would say, in my experience, the regionals has always been more of a hectic time, because you know there are so few spots that qualify to the games, and you want those few spots. And once you're at the games, like, and you're not fighting for first, second, or third. It's like, okay, either you're 17th or 13th, you know, but you still go all in. I mean, the guys that are there, they're all super competitive. So, like I just remember my my first event at the games. It was actually my favorite event, and it was a back-to-back event. Some of you might remember if you were following the games that year, but it was called I think it was called the Burden Run, and it was the same for the individual, but for the teams, it started with the run. It was a 3K run. Yeah, I think it was a 3K run, and then we ended on the soccer field, and there we had to flip an object, what they called the pig. It was like the first version of the pig, and we had never they didn't allow us to try it. before. And the way that the team event worked was, so you send out the runners, and you know, a soccer field is quite large, and the first runner from each team could kind of get a place for their team. So you could kind of get a really good spot, or if you had a slow runner, you would get, you know, the furthest away. So you had to, you know, get your team all the way on the other side of the field. So it, you know, pays to be a winner. And I went out, and of course I kind of came from a running background, so I was second on the run out of all the teams. So that was quite fun, and I enjoyed that a lot. And then we flipped that pig all the way, and then we had like what now people call the worm, but this was the old school worm, and I think they learned because we had a lot of injuries during those games, so it was a wooden worm.
Oh.
So it was 6 wooden pieces. So imagine now the sandworm, but it was 6 wooden pieces. Yeah. So if you're not like organized, or you know, something goes wrong, I mean, some ears were cut off, some fingers were broken, and
really?
So it was hardcore, but we had to pick up the worm and then run inside the LA Galaxy field, which you know, which they call the soccer stadium, and then we finished it off. And then we got like a 10-minute break, and then we had a sled pull, just a 60-meter sled pull. And again, we didn't get to try it before, and there were 3 different weights, 2 on each sled, and I had the second weight. And I remember it was a 60-meter, and we were thinking, okay, it must be a sprint, because I mean, it's only like 60 meters, and we're 2 sprinting with this. And so the sled was, you were kind of strapped in, and the sled was behind you, so you're dragging it. And on 3, 2, 1, go, we just start like blasting off, and we get probably like 15, 20 meters, and then we just boom, hit a wall. And I just remember thinking like, oh shit, it was not a sprint. It was like a, you know, a steady walk. It should have been. So we were like, that stopped, and I just remember thinking, this is the games, like, you have to give all. So I think that was the worst event I've had that was so short. So of course we finished, but like, what, you know, by the finish line, my nose was touching the grass. That's how like leaned forward I was and trying to get forward. But yeah, so you always give your all, basically. But it was a great experience. I think we were 7th in that event, so it was pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, one last question concerning you. Being a CrossFit Games athlete, and now being coach or head coach, whatever, what's your side on the fact that since you were an athlete, a CrossFit Games athlete, how can this translate to a box? For someone who just tries and choosing a box, and he says, okay, here in this gym, there's like this head coach who was at the games. Does that make any difference or not? Do you think a coach is a better coach because he was a CrossFit Games athlete or not?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a ultimatum, or meaning I don't think it... You can certainly be a good coach without having, you know, been on the highest level of CrossFit, that's for sure. There are some great coaches out there that, you know, on a athlete level, they're not really good. I think it's always important that the coach practices CrossFit and knows a lot about it, and I think that's what comes into play of me being or having been on the highest level for quite some time, and also being exposed to athletes that are like at the peak, like, you know, the fittest on earth people, like hours and hours of training with them and seeing how they train and give feedback, and I think that brings a lot of value as a coach, because like that experience helps. You know, I think you run into a lot of, like, early on you start it's like with everything, your experience helps. So if you can use that, I don't think that it's definitely, I don't think it's something that someone needs to have, but I think it helps a lot. I think, you know, it can also, like, a lot of athletes that are at the highest level, they're not really good coaches. So, and they might think they are because they're really good at the sport, but if you cannot, you know, teach something or communicate it, but you only know how to do it. It's, you know, it's a separate thing. That's something I kind of ran into, thinking that I was a really good coach because I was really good at something, and it's really not the same. I mean, I can snatch really well, but can I teach someone else to snatch? You know, that's the question. So I definitely have, you know, being able to snatch, I have skills that are required to teach someone to snatch. Like I can see the person move, and I can see if he's doing it right, or keep stuff that he needs to keep in mind. But can I communicate it correctly and read into the person, like how, you know? So there's a lot of other layers on coaching, but definitely one of them is, I would say, being able to recognize the movement and being able to do the stuff yourself. You don't have to do it at a high level, but yeah.
Yeah, that was actually the initial question in that sense. So is any kind of CrossFit Games athlete that opens a box necessarily a good box or a good coach and stuff like that? You know? So it really depends on... I had the similar experience as you just said, like that was actually with you guys.
Yeah.
And we went to the pool, and since I used to be a swimmer in my younger years,
right,
and I tried to teach you guys a bit on technique of swimming. It was the same thing. I used to be a swimmer. I know exactly how to swim and have the feeling for it. But then when you have to show people or tell people how to change what they are doing, it's a completely different story if you've never learned how to teach people how to swim, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and even a little bit more about that, like when you're, you know, like an athlete and you've done a movement 1,000 times and you're correcting yourself a lot of times, and then you get like high level feedback. You know what I mean? Like you're, you know, the feedback that someone on competing at the games is getting on his muscle ups is probably really high level feedback.
And detailed, probably.
Yeah, it's detailed and specific, and it might be, you know, it might be complicated, and not everyone understands that lingo. Meaning, when you're in a CrossFit box, 99% of the people, they don't even know where the hamstring is. You know what I mean? So a lot of times the cues are maybe too complicated, or, you know, it's just a lot of things you got to learn. So it's something I ran into of, you know, the same cues that work for me don't work for someone else, because I might have a different understanding of things. So when you tell me to activate my lats, I might understand it, but, you know, a lot of people
know where
won't.
they are.
Yeah, like what are my lats? Are they in my locker room or what? You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, cool. Let's get to the Lux Fitness Challenge. So, just in general, what was your main idea? What motivated you to do a Lux Fitness Challenge, actually?
Yeah, so, like, in Iceland, we've always had a lot of local events. And even before CrossFit, we used to compete in this thing called, like, I guess you could, if you translate it, it's like the fitness champion, or whatever, you know, like the fittest in Iceland. And it was always this is before CrossFit, so like 2007, 8, 9, and onwards. It was like a long chipper. And then it evolved to just, you know, different things, maybe being more of CrossFit, whatever. But that being said, it was always catered to almost everyone that did some kind of functional fitness, meaning the entry barrier was really low. And then once I moved here, I actually realized how many events are also here. There are so many events. You know, you have great events that are planned really well, and I mean, they are like the regionals were, you know, a couple of years back, meaning like they're really big, and the level of athletes is really high, like the French throwdown, the German throw, whatever, you know, all these events. But a lot of these events also cater to like the 1% of a few boxes. Like even qualifying for the French throwdown is super difficult for a lot of people. Which it should be. It's fine. I mean, that's what they're doing. So I was kind of seeing a need or an interest, if you will, for an event that had maybe a lower barrier of entry.
So less elite competition.
Yeah, more. Exactly. And the movements and the standards, being able to get the fittest on top, but at the same time being able to test everyone or most people. Of course, it's gonna be, you know, in some ways very difficult for some people, but you know. So in short, I decided to see if we could create an event that was both like on an organizational standpoint and sponsors like on a high level, but the entry to compete would be a little bit lower. So you could have a, you know, different kind of levels of fitness competing. And we tried it last year and it worked out really well. Last year we had both individual competition and then we had the teams of 3, so same sex teams of 3, and again worked really well. But we saw that the interest for the team competition was higher, so we decided to try this year to focus on the teams, so we could, you know, devote more time toward the teams.
Have you had any feedback on that from people? So did people miss the individual part? Yeah,
when you take decisions for so many people, like, you know, last year we had over 200 and, I don't know, 20, 30 competitors.
Total.
Yeah, you're always going to have some people unhappy. But no, I mean, I got maybe a couple of messages saying, I wish, you know, I was looking forward to the individual. But I think we read it right where we saw that most people had the interest of going team. So it was very minor, but, you know, a lot of people were like, cool.
And I suppose due to the fact that it's teams only, it's also the entry level gets even easier because you can get in as a team. As an individual, many people might not be, they might not feel themselves apt to actually do it, you know. So, but in a team, they might be less scared.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a win-win in that regard, like meaning when you're on a team, especially how we design the workouts, you might have one person that's really strong at something, and, you know, another one that might be strong in another area of CrossFit. And the way we design the workouts, normally the team has to go through it together. You know, of course, there are some events that, you know, one athlete needs to do a specific thing, but we keep it pretty flexible. You know, people can choose, like, this person does this movement, or they just gotta finish the task.
So strategize.
Yeah, pretty much. But you can kind of hide behind your weakness if you have one. So that also allows us to maybe have the workouts a bit more difficult because we know that they can kind of strategize. So yeah, I think it works well in that regard. And I'm excited to see how the events this year kind of pan out. Yeah,
for now, I mean, from the feedback I got, is a lot of people, they feel like, I guess especially for the not so elite people, there might be some movements that might be a bit heavier for them to perform. And if they have a team where the 3 of them are not that good, I'd say, like, for instance, an overhead squat,
right,
that might be quite difficult for them. But from another side, they can always train for it because they know the workouts already, and they can prepare for it, and they can already decide who's doing what, and so it's actually open, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. That was my kind of intention when I created the event, was releasing the events beforehand, so 1 month before. So it's a good bit of time. Like, I remember competing at regionals in 2012, and I had like 3 weeks, thankfully, before the events were, like, they were announced 3 weeks before I was supposed to compete. And there was a dumbbell snatch, this is in 2012, that was 45 kilos, and this is the first time they introduced the dumbbell snatch. So none of us had done a dumbbell snatch. I mean, we had snatched, and 45 kilos. The heaviest dumbbell we had at the gym was 40 kilos, and I had never lifted it really. I mean, because back then you weren't really training with dumbbells.
You were lifting it to move it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I just remember, like, when the events were announced, I I tried to snatch it and I couldn't even get it up once. And they also said that, so in total in the workout there were 40 dumbbell snatches, so always alternating, and you had to get 10. If you don't get 10, you get disqualified from the event, so you get kicked out of regionals if you don't get 10. And there I'm like standing and I can't even lift it with my right arm, which is my stronger arm.
As an individual, sorry.
Yes, yeah, this was me as an individual. And then I, of course, just trained and worked on the technique, and I finished the event like well below the time cap. So I could snatch it easily, not easily, but comfortably 3 weeks later. So saying that, a month, you can do a lot of things in a month.
To prepare for it,
Yeah, so if someone is struggling with overhead squats, you might be able to fix a lot of things in 1 month. But this year also, I decided to not announce everything, meaning all the events are announced and all kind of the big details are announced, but a lot of people are asking me like, what is the size of the tire,
exactly.
like the measurement, and what is the weight of the tire. I've gotten a bunch of questions about that, and I've been answering people the same is that's going to be unknown. So it's just part of the experience. I like them, to experience that as well, because I'm coming from a background where, I'm competing at the CrossFit Games and I don't know nothing. And you come there and then, you got to flip a pig and it's probably going to be really heavy. It's like, can you try it out and warm up? It's like, nope, you just got to get it done. Yeah. So, I mean, the first time I tried an assault runner was at the regionals as well. And a lot of people are asking, like, can we try the stuff? And I'm like, maybe not, but just.
So you're going to allow people to actually try the tire flips in the warm-up at the Lux Fitness Challenge?
That I haven't decided completely, but I haven't decided.
It's kind of funny because I had 3-4 people that actually asked me if we could get a tire into the gym to try it out. Yeah. And I said I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if you're wondering about the tire, it's challenging, but it's definitely manageable for most.
But it's gonna be an individual flip, or can they flip it in the team?
No, so only one person can be flipping at a time. However, if you have, let's say you have one athlete that cannot flip the tire for some reason, the other two can just do all the flips.
Okay, so it's shared.
But but only one person working at a time. So I think for most teams, it's gonna be a challenge to flip it and to do it fast, but it's not gonna be where you can't lift it. It's not that heavy, both for females and males. I mean, I had someone else than myself test it as well, so So I think we're pretty good shape, but they're big. Like the tires are big. It's proper tires. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So it's gonna be cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since we're in the first event here, we have this buy-in and buy-out of 900 meters run.
Yeah.
On the assault run. So what was the reason you decided to go for assault runs and perhaps, for instance, not use the outside area to do that same thing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I actually thought about it a little bit, and a couple of factors. One being that
Jackie wants to say hi.
Yeah, Jackie
Come
wants
say
coffee.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello. Why is the coffee machine not working?
Because it's making too much noise.
But so one being, the reason why we put an assault runner is because it's interesting. A lot of people, you see it at the games nowadays, and a lot of people want to try it. So we thought that'd be just cool. It's also when people run away, the audience cannot really follow them running. Yeah. So we wanted to also create a movement where you can keep an eye on the athletes the whole time, and then give them more of give them more freedom to change. They just got to finish 900 together. If they break it up 300, 300, 300, or 150 or whatever.
Okay.
So, or one person runs 900, it's up to them. So with that type of run,
is it that hard to run on it? Because for me, 900 meters split in 3 people is not that much of run.
No, it's a sprint.
It's a sprint. Yeah, okay, it's really meant for sprinting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's gonna be it's gonna be a sprint.
Okay.
It's supposed to be. I mean, it's
Okay.
fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you split, not giving advices to no one, but you want to keep your.
But still.
But you want to keep it fast.
Okay.
So it's fast.
And how hard? Because I've never run an assault run too. So how hard is it to actually get it? Is it something that just comes naturally, or is it a normal running, or do you still have to adapt to it?
No, it's definitely a little bit different. Like because it's almost like a small hill at the front, but you're not running uphill. So for some people, it's like. It's difficult to kind of stay at the same place sometimes, but I would say most people will catch the groove pretty quickly.
But from your running strikes, does it still translate to the same way you're running, or do you have to like heel strike or full foot strike or?
No, I think it's supposed to even like enforce good running techniques.
Okay.
And
because it's called also true form, right?
Yeah, well, that's another model. Is the assault runner, but
okay.
it's the same design.
Okay.
So, but the landing is smoother because of this curve at the front.
Okay.
So the landing is smoother. It's a little more. It's better for bigger guys than running on a street. Meaning, like, because weight moves a little bit of weight. So I would say it benefits a little bit to be heavier than it would benefit you if you were just running on outside. But
yes, because it's not a normal treadmill where it's electrically turning the band, but you're the one actually moving it, right?
Yeah. But I think it's designed in the way where like the best sprinters or runners will always be the fastest, even on like. So I think we would have a similar result if we do it outside. Yeah.
And how does it, in a sense, when you're in a full sprint and then you stop? How does that translate to stopping of the machine itself? Is it hard to stop it? Does it naturally stop when you're taking down the pace, or how does it?
Right. So if you're sprinting, you would do the same thing like you were doing on an electrical treadmill. You would just put your feet to the side.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then the belt stops pretty soon after that.
Okay.
But that's something we'll definitely cover, like athlete briefing. So all these details. We'll definitely cover really well in the athlete briefing. So
yeah, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because it's a question that and other questions like this is something we'll definitely make sure we cover. Yeah.
When I saw the 3 events, my first question was like, "Whoa, we don't need a rack."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, a competition without a rack.
Yeah.
How does that look like?"
That's a good question.
Have you been to a competition without a rack?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of them actually.
Okay.
Well, I mean the events that I'm talking about in Iceland, a lot of times we program around a rack, like not having a rack because we didn't have the benefit of a rack, and we were inside a gymnasium where you couldn't drop and etc. So I mean, there's plenty of things you can do without a rack, and especially when I knew I had the assault runner, I had weight vests, I had tires, we had barbells. There was so much stuff that I could do, and it didn't really justify just putting one movement, maybe having pull-ups, toes to bar, whatever it might be, to like bring a whole rack just for that, because I had so much other stuff to play with. So I just we decided to program around that.
Yeah, that's exactly what my first thought actually was. Like how does a workout area look like without a rack? And then exactly I thought like, okay, we have the assault runners, they will be there, and it could still be a nice setup in that sense.
Yeah, because it's not your typical 3-day event, and that also is something that I wanted to be different than other events around here. So this event is not. It's not the best event to test who is like the fittest CrossFitter, because the tests are few, and
it's just one day.
Yeah, and it's back to back to back.
Yeah.
And the event. So you do one event, you get 3-minute rest. You get another event, you get 3-minute rest, and then the third one. However, I do think that the best CrossFitters will be at the top. But of course, there's a lot of tests. If you were gonna do like a whole test of fitness, test all, the most areas. we're definitely not testing all the areas, but we are just coming together, having a fun event with challenging, challenging workouts, with proper judging. It's gonna be nice.
So did I get that right? So you have 3 events, and when one heat starts with your team, you're doing the 3 events one after another.
Yeah.
So it's not like event 1, all the heats, and then event. Ooh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So actually, your time to work out is a specific time during the day, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the rest of the day, you can actually see the other people.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some things for people to, there'll be beer there, there'll be food,
Awesome.
there'll be drinks. There's gonna be a DJ the whole day, and hopefully there's gonna be good weather. Because this year we're gonna be inside and outside. So the tire flips is gonna be outside.
Okay.
We have a big door in the competition arena. There's a big door where we're gonna open up completely. It's gonna be a food truck outside, and it's gonna be a nice setup.
But the salt runners will be inside. So how will that look like for people watching?
Yeah, if it's not raining, if it's raining and I get the permission, I want them outside actually.
Also okay.
Because the way we're gonna run the event is every 30 minutes a new team starts.
Mm-hmm.
So you will always have 2 teams kind of competing at the same time, but on different places.
Oh yeah.
So while one team is doing event 1 or a heat, so let's say heat 2 is starting event 1, then heat 1 is already on event 3.
Okay. So you're not necessarily do the events one after another. You're not starting with event 1 necessarily. You could start with event 2. Or
No. Everyone starts at event 1.
Okay.
I'm just saying we don't run a complete heat and then take a 3-minute break and then we start the next heat.
Okay.
The way we run the event, it's gonna be like pretty fast pace, meaning every half hour a new heat comes in and starts event 1.
Okay.
Regardless if because the workouts are also designed with a time cap.
Mm-hmm.
So you always get rewarded for the work you do if you get time capped, but that also means you're moving at a certain pace through the course.
Okay,
and always when one heat is starting event 3, you will have another heat already starting the event 1. So on organizational, or I don't even know how that word sounds, but organizing it might be a little bit more difficult, challenging if you will. But that's definitely something we can manage. But it works a lot smoother for the competitors because then the event is faster paced. So if we would run it the other way around, we lose so much time. It takes up more time. So I wanted to give each team more time on the competition floor, and that was really the only way I could do it, was kind of running 2 heats at the same time. So
absolutely. Well, it's probably making, since it's more challenging to organize, it's also making the whole thing more alive, I guess. You have less downtime in a sense, right?
Okay. So to picture it, you will have a full heat of 8 teams inside, while you have another heat outside of 8 teams. So there's going to be a lot of things to watch. And normally the spectators, you always have a big part of the spectators are watching certain people, they're their friends, their family, whatever. So they can always follow their team. And then you have people that are just, interested in the event and spectating. And so they can also kind of, if they get bored watching this event, they can go outside and there's another full heat doing stuff out there that's completely different. So
yeah, it's kind of cool. So you can choose what you want to see.
Yeah.
It's good. So event 2 is like lifting part?
Yes, so they have like 9 minutes. They have 9 minutes and they gotta establish a 1 rep max in 3 different lifts. However, one athlete needs to pick one movement. So meaning you have the one athlete doing the snatch and he's only doing the snatch. Then you have another one doing we have the clean plus 5 front squats and he only doing that. And then you have the third one doing the cluster, and he's only doing that. So there are few people asking me if they can like all do the snatch or whatnot. No, you have to pick like one athlete does one movement, and the kind of highest successful lift in each movement will go toward their score. And the way we designed this one is, I think all the lifts, like if you're a well-rounded athlete, all these lifts are about the same for you. Like meaning if you can snatch 100 kilos, you can probably, your max in one clean plus 5 front squat is around 100 kilos. And then also if you can snatch 100 kilos, your cluster is probably around 100 kilos.
Okay.
So for a well-rounded athlete, the number is the same for all three movements. So that's kind of what we're looking for, where, you know, if we'd have like a deadlift in there, that'd be much more important to have a good one there.
Yes.
So we were trying to look for movements that, you know, were around the same. The clean is like you have to do one clean, and if you do it squat clean, you still have to do 5 front squats after that.
Oh yeah,
so
true.
So you're like if you do a squat clean, it doesn't count towards your first front squat. So yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be. They have 9 minutes, so I mean, they can again
use the time as they want.
Yeah, they can go up and down in weights, and again, because I mean, you have different strength in the teams, but if the team is, you know, the team athletes are around the same level, they'll probably be working up in the same weights, meaning they can put, you know, whatever, 60 kilos on the bar, and one snatches it, one does the clean 5 front squats, another one does the cluster, and then they put 70 kilos, they all do the same. So
it's probably the most intelligent thing to do.
Yeah, unless you have like one athlete that's a lot stronger, he needs to do different weight jumps. But yeah.
But I guess you have one barbell, one set of weights.
One barbell, and they can help each other out, loading the weights up and down and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's gonna be nice to see, because the recovery time after event 1, I think, is gonna surprise a lot of people. How like not recovered they are, because the first one is a fire breather. Like meaning you are moving at a fast pace and it's intense, and then you gotta lift heavy. So we're gonna see. We designed it where, you know, you couldn't lift heavy while you're fresh. You gotta lift heavy after you know, been breathing hard a little bit.
That's what people were complaining about a lot in the last few months. In our training sessions, where you started switching around the weightlifting part and the workout part. So when people first do the workout and then they have to do the lifting part, they're like, "Oh, I'm really tired now." But prepare for the unknown and the unknown.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's gotta throw things around. I mean,
that's good.
Change it up.
Cool. Yeah, and event 3, also quite interesting.
Yeah, event 3 is gonna be nasty. Just sorry for that, but it's gonna be like, it's gonna hurt. So you have 6 different movements with a bar, and after each movement, you have 10 bar facing burpees. So, like, it starts with 25 back squats, and it's always 60 and 40 kilos is the weight. So one athlete, he needs to do 25 back squats, and then he needs to do 10 bar facing burpees, and then he can go and trade out. So another athlete can step in, and then you have 25 sumo deadlift high pulls, and again the burpees, and then you got 25 front squats, then the burpees, then 25 overhead squats, then the burpees, 25 thrusters, then the burpees, and then 25 ground to overhead and the burpees. So meaning each athlete of the team will do 2 of these movements. They can choose the order. So if one person is really good at the sumo deadlift high pull, or cannot do the overhead squats, whatever, they can kind of strategize around that. But at the same time, like, you cannot have someone do the sumo deadlift high pull and then the next movement, which would be the front squats, right after. I mean, if you're gonna do it, that's fine, but that person's gonna suffer.
Yeah, you have to be smart about it. What you do. And
so the time cap is also, it's challenging, but I believe that we'll have a few teams finish for sure under the time cap. But if you have someone struggling with one of these movements, then you're definitely not going to finish. But you do have, like, on average, 2 minutes 30 seconds, I believe, to complete kind of each couplet, you know, the movement and the burpees. So if your average is lower than that, you'll finish the event. But yeah.
Well, that's when I saw the event 3 as also one of the things I thought, like, this event actually takes the entry level up a notch, though.
Yeah.
Because it's not like for everybody anymore. I mean, compared to last year when you could really say, okay, you could scale stuff and was different. Here you cannot scale the weight.
No.
So there's no scaling options. So it's...
Yeah, but in my... of course, you get rewarded for every rep you do. So, meaning if you get 1 back squat and the other team gets 0 back squat of the first movement, you're going to be ranked above them. So in a way, it just becomes a different competition. But that's also why I put the back squat, or the back squat is first, because it's probably the easiest to do 25 times. But if someone cannot, like, then you just have to have one person being able to clean 60 or 40. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, for sure. It's, I mean, of course, it's always going to be challenging, but like people looking at like, I cannot do the overhead squats, and just do the other stuff really fast and try to get as many overhead squats as possible. And you get rewarded for that, or whatever the movement might be. And I think more teams will get time cap than, you know, majority of the teams will get time cap during the event, I think. But I'd like to see as many as possible finish. Which
is fine in the end, even if you have workouts.
Yeah, I mean, they're just competing for the reps. Yeah. You always get rewarded for each rep. So one rep is going to be 0 reps, and 2 reps is going to be 1 rep.
Yeah, it's a bit like in the Opens this year. You had a lot of workouts where you were time capped, and it was totally fine. I mean, you didn't even make it to half of it, but it's fine. You did it.
Yeah, but I think even if there are any teams that, you know, are struggling with lifting the weight, the prescribed weight, you know, of course they do have some time until the event, but I think and they should use that time well, because I think they can improve a lot more than they believe. And even if they can go from getting a couple of reps of a movement to maybe over 10 or 20, that's huge.
So for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So will there this year be like sort of a vendor village or food trucks, or what is planned in that sense? Yeah,
for sure. We'll have sponsors come in. You know, the companies that are sponsoring the event. Some of them are gonna have a booth. We're gonna have food truck, and different drinks, stuff like this. So there's gonna be some. It's not like again, it's just it's a small community event, if you will. Like, it's not a huge event where we just blow up the vendor area and, you know, all this stuff. But we're certainly gonna have, you know, a few things there that people can buy and kind of hang out. So that's for sure. Like,
you say it's a small event. Do you still, though, have the plan or the hope that it might get bigger after several years of doing it, or?
Right. So it's, I mean, like, it would be really easy for me to already like make that step after last year, meaning like we sold out in 5 days this year. Yeah. So, but it was on purpose. Like, I didn't want to change what we had, because it worked well. A lot of times people go too big too early. Not saying that in 5 years we might like expand a little bit and change the concept, but as of now I just want to keep doing what we're doing because people enjoy it. So I mean of course we're the biggest event in Luxembourg, that's for sure, but I mean, like,
the only one probably.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe definitely. On this,
I guess every gym has their own local gym kind of small competitions like we have here, but in the community of the region, it's probably the only one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, so we're definitely a lot bigger than that, but we're not, you know, French throwdown level or something, and not that we're trying to be, but so I think we have everything that, I think we have a good event, and I don't want to change too much and make it a different event just because I think, it's going well.
It might
now.
be too early to think of that. I agree of. But do you still have the urge at some point perhaps to organize something like a Luxembourg throwdown or something like that, in that sense, so that this could actually be just the starting point for it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I have a lot of ideas. I mean, of course, there's a lot of ideas you could execute on that would be really interesting around this. Like one idea I had would be to maybe have like an elite category, like meaning like world-class athletes coming in and like an invite-only heat. Where you'd have a small heat of a few teams where you'd have like just games athletes.
For show in that sense.
Yeah,
so
for more of a show, and then you'd have like everyone run the same events as well, so you kind of see the difference. That's one event. That's one idea. One would be to change it into a multiple day event. There's a few things, but as of now, I like what we're doing. I don't want to change it, just because. And also, I mean, a lot of people assume that stuff like this makes a lot of money. But in reality, and I've been a part of a lot of, or at least a few events, planning wise, and it's just really hard to break even. I mean, if you're gonna put time and the effort and really try to cater to the everything, the athletes, and then it just it's work. So saying that just go big, it could be a terrible move financially. So we're not like, this event is definitely not something we took on like Reebok CrossFit Balance as a financial gain. It was more to just like offer this to the community, both our community like here inside the box, the Balance box, and kind of around the area, because like the event is definitely driven by members within Valence. Like most of the staff is coming from Valence, so we are kind of, and of course organizing the whole thing, but the staff and the volunteers, most of them are coming from Valence. So if I see that they are, I mean, at the moment they're super interested in doing it, so it's going great. But if I see like we are pushing them like too far, then I'll definitely have to rethink it. So at the moment it's going really well, and we'll continue to to have the event and until we don't feel like it's working out. But yeah, I'm really happy how it progressed. I mean on social media we don't really, I guess, pay attention, not the right word, but we don't have someone like putting in content over and over and over. We're not really big on social media, but we executed the event really well, and just word of mouth, people talking about it. We got a lot of 5-star reviews on Facebook after the event last year. So when we just put out one post about we're gonna have it again and the registration is going live, it just went viral. I mean, for us it went viral because 300 athletes in 5 days is a lot in this area. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So that, I mean, that says that we definitely did something right. We can always improve, and there are things that we're trying to make better. And like last year, we didn't have like a gift for all the athletes, and this year we'll have that. So that's something that's cool. So there are a few things this year that are going to be a little bit different, but it's going to be hopefully an improvement, and then we'll try to repeat what we did last year. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
cool.
You were just quickly, you were saying that you were organizing events like that before. Can you comment on that? So what kind of events have you organized? Or
I mean, like, of course, aside from like organizing all the in-house events, and being a little bit also involved in that in Iceland and other events there, after I then of course the Lux Fitness Challenge last year. But after I stopped competing at regionals, I was interested to kind of help out at regionals. Since I was not competing, so I just started with in 2016, in Madrid, helping the core staff that's running the event, and my role was then to kind of sponsors and vendors at the event, and then it kind of evolved to helping the directors a bit for whatever was needed, and then handling the sponsors and vendors and different tasks. Like I was a little bit on the mic last year, but that was more for fun. Basically saying I really enjoyed it, and I was involved in kind of the core team leaders running the event. And then after we split the regions this year, so one will be the Meridian regional will be in Madrid, and the Europe regional is in Berlin. I was offered to kind of be the event lead, which is the kind of what we would call event director position. At the Europe regional in Berlin. So it's been nice to, it's a lot of work to get this new role, but it's exciting. I think we're coming up now. Berlin is going to be end of May or mid-May, and it's looking really good. That's going to be a great event as well. So it's also fun to be organizing 2 events at the same time on a different kind of caliber, So
puts everything in perspective, right?
Yeah, that's maybe why I said the Lux Fitness Challenge is a small event, because when you're organizing the regional at the same time, everything feels small in comparison.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the regional you have so many people helping out. It's a very big team, and I'm a piece of the puzzle. I'm a piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be a little bit bigger piece than I used to be, but it's still a piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when's the Lux Fitness Challenge?
So May 5th. May 5th. It's a Saturday. LuxExpo.
The box nowadays called the box.
So anyone can come.
Free entry, right?
It's gonna be €5.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So €5 at the door, and you're good to go. We're gonna send out some. So if you're registered for a team or you're competing, you're gonna get an email shortly with some information regarding the event. So make sure that the team leader that signed their email forwards that email to you, or lets you know what's going down. Yeah. Cool.
Sweet. And for the rest of the information, as always, like on Facebook, there's an internet site, right?
Right, yeah. So LuxFitnessChallenge.com, Lux Fitness Challenge on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Rock on.
Looking forward to it.
And then Berlin is 18, 19, 20th of May. Yeah. In the Velodrome.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You've seen it, right? Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I did an on-site visit in February. It's going to be, the competition arena is really nice. Meaning, I think the atmosphere is going to be electric. You're going to be a little bit closer to the athletes than you were in Madrid. And the ceiling is lower, so I think the sound of the spectators and kind of the audience is going to be like...
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, like you can hear more. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. I think it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
It's a wrap, man.
Let's do it.
See you next time.
Yeah.